Hi, in this tutorial we are going to talk about writing recursive methods. So the first example is just going to be a simple recursive method that would add all numbers starting at a given number n down to 1. So when I call this, for example, with 4, that means I'm adding together 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. So when I write a recursive method, the first thing I always like to do is think about what would be the base case, what would cause this method to end. And if we think about counting down from 4 to 0 or 1, we know that when this is going to end when I reach 0. So I'm going to say if n is equal to 0, then we are going to return 0. If it's not, now this is going to be our recursive case. So else, so otherwise, basically if we're not at the bottom, we're not at the base case, then what are we going to do each time? Well, we're basically taking the current n, right, and we're adding it to all the other n's. So basically I just need to take n plus and then recall my method add 'em with 1 less than n, right? So we're going to call it with n minus 1. So my base case is when n is equal to 0. Otherwise, I'm going to say n plus and then recall the method with 1 less than n. So now when I run it with 4, we would expect to see a value of 10, because 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 is equal to 10. And I forgot my return statement here. So because this method returns something, I need to always constantly have a return statement here. So now I have 10 is what I expected. So in my second example, which I have commented out here, I'm going to simply just use a recursive method that will search an array for the number 6. So we know that we could do that with a for loop, right? We could loop through all the values in the array and check to see if any are 6. But we're going to do that recursively instead. So if you see here, we're given the parameter is going to be the array that we're going to search through and the index that we're going to start at. So we need to think about what would be our base case? What would cause this to end? And in this case, if we're starting at index 0 and searching through the array, it's going to end when it reaches the end of the array. So basically, if index is equal to nums.length, then we basically know that we never found that 6. So we're going to return false in that case. So if index reaches the length of the array, that means we've searched all the elements. And if we never found one, we're going to go ahead and return false. So that would be my base case. My other case would be if we do find a 6, we still probably want it to end. So now we're going to say else if nums bracket index is equal to 6, then we would return true because we did find a 6. Right, so those are our two kind of base cases. I either reach the end and I don't find a 6, or I find a 6 in which I return true that I did find it. Now, right now we don't have a recursive situation going on yet, so now we need to say, okay, what if I haven't reached the end but I haven't reached a 6? So what is that case? So I'm just going to call that else, and we're going to return basically just a recall to this. So array 6. We're still using the array nums, but we need to think about how do we change the index. So if it was index before, now we can say it's index plus 1. So we're either going to return false if I get to the end and don't find it, return true if I do find it, otherwise I'm going to recall the method and move the index one more spot. And I need to comment out my 2 lines that would run this. So when I run it with nums, there is a 6 in this array, I should get a true, and nums2 I should get a false. See? Oh, and I forgot my static. I want to make sure all of our methods are static if we're not creating objects. And you can see that I got a true for the first one and a false for the second. So those are two just quick examples of writing recursive methods. It's kind of impossible to show all of them, but at least this is a little bit to get you started.